right, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project. I'm your host, Sean Calhoun, and I want to thank you for joining me this week and just hanging out with me because that's what I like to do. I like to have thoughts that come up in conversations with clients, with other friends, with my wife, and put them into a podcast, right? I like to take my thoughts, bullet point them out, share it in a way that's hopefully educational and that lands with you and that is actionable so you can take this information and go do something to improve your life. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Now, I want you to imagine, right, you are someone who has the perfect workout, perfect nutrition plan, you have a supplement protocol, you've got lab results, but realize that none of it will create lasting change in your life if you still see yourself as someone who is constantly trying to get healthy. If that's the verbiage that you say and that you think about yourself when it comes to your health, right? So many people, they spend years doing things like chasing a result, right? They're trying to lose 20 pounds. They're trying to get rid of bloating. They're trying to build muscle. They're trying to have more energy or finally feel comfortable in their body. And you know this because you've either said it to other people, you've said it to yourself, or it's just this story that you repeat when you're referring to your health. Like when I meet someone and I say, hey, what are some of your goals? Tell me about, your past. It'll be the same thing. I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. Like how many times have you said that to others and have you said it to yourself? So just try to think about for a moment, what is the story that you're telling yourself and others about your health? Now, I want to reiterate, those goals that you have, whether it be lose 20 pounds or get rid of bloating, they're all valid, they're all worthwhile goals, but the problem that we're running into is that it's not your goal that you have. The problem is you're approaching health like this temporary project and quest that you're on instead of being a part of who you are. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today is the identity, the mindset, and the conversation that you have about your goals, about health in general, and about what you're trying to accomplish. Now, there is this hamster wheel that I see too many people going on. It's the hamster wheel of searching, right? If I ask someone what they've tried in the past as far as their health and their fitness is concerned, I hear things like, I've tried a new diet, I've done this workout program, I've tried a new supplement, I've done a cleanse or a detox, or maybe they did a challenge, like an online challenge that lasted a few weeks. And the issue that I see with this is that they start these things hoping that it provides them quick relief. We live in a society where we want answers now, we want results tomorrow, we want things that we order from Amazon here yesterday, right? And when the results don't happen fast enough, they assume that the method that they chose did not work and they begin searching for the next answer, right? Here's the cycle that I see. I've even done it myself. Don't worry. So I'm not perfect. I've been here, but you have a problem, a situation that you want to improve. So you start searching. You search for the answer. You see on social media, you're scrolling on there. Maybe you're Googling, asking a friend, you're on ChatGPT. You find something that sounds decent. Then you start on that journey. You begin the workouts. You start, meal prepping for the diet. You went and bought the supplement with that intention that you're going to get quick results. And when that doesn't happen, because that's not what happens with real health building and losing weight and building muscle and creating longevity, you become discouraged. You're pissed. You think, well, it must be this workout program that I'm doing, or it must be this diet that's not working, or this supplement must not really be for me. So then you stop, and then you search again. You're back on social media. You're asking different friends, and you almost like validate yourself if you hear someone else's opinion. So for example, let's say you started doing Pilates and you weren't losing weight as fast as you wanted to. And then you're like, I'm done with Pilates. It's not for me. And you meet a friend or you meet someone like me who's going to say, hey, you should probably do some strength training. That might be more beneficial for you. And you're like, yeah, that's it. I needed strength training. It was the Pilates fault that I didn't lose the weight, and then you kind of like feel safe inside and all good that now you have this new direction to go in, and it's finally going to be strength training that turns it all around. And I have news for you. It's not. Everything can work. It's all starting up here with your mindset. As long as you have the right mindset, anything can start to make progress for you. But if you have the wrong mindset, it doesn't matter if you have the perfect layout plan. Like I could run your labs. I could give you a bite by bite meal plan of exactly what you need to eat, your exact macros, your exact calories, when to eat it, what to do, perfect sleep routines. I could give it all to you in a document, in an email, in a video, whatever. But if you don't have the right mindset, it is not going to work for you. So I want you to take the stand today that you're going to change this mentality. You're going to step off of this hamster wheel and get back into reality, right? It's just because the issue is not that you haven't found the right plan, right? And maybe you haven't. Not saying everyone has a perfect plan in their hands, but the issue may be that you've never followed one approach consistently enough to allow it to work, right? Because a lot of things do work when you have the right plan. Like if I were to run your labs, find out what's going on in your body, explain it to you so you understand it thoroughly, give you a custom protocol that is just for you, the individual, that will work if you allow it to work. But if you're someone who, after a week of saying, you know what, this is frustrating, I haven't lost the weight yet, what's going on? And then you start searching for something else, you don't have the identity and the mindset of someone who's committed to it, right? And that's where we run into problems. And so what I see a lot is when working with people, a lot of them will have outcome-based goals, and outcome-based goals are not enough. And for example, an outcome-based goal might be something like, I want to lose weight. And that might be enough to get you started, but it's usually not enough to keep you going when the going gets tough and when things get boring and when life happens, right? Weight loss is an outcome, but you can't directly control what's on the scale every morning, right? You simply cannot be the person who can determine what that number is going to say. So I have the approach to tell people, get back in control of what you can control. Some things that I have people focus on is, what are the meals that you prepare? How often do you strength train? What does your daily movement look like outside of exercise? What is your sleep routine? How well and which ways do you respond to stress? And are you someone who keeps the small promises to yourself? Those are all things that you can control. If you say you're going to drink 50 ounces of water in a day and you do that, you controlled that. If you know that sleeping in a dark, cool room is more beneficial and you buy blackout curtains and lower the air conditioning, you controlled that. If you know that eating more protein and vegetables is going to benefit your overall health, and you prepare chicken and broccoli and you make some peppers and ground beef and you do those things so that you can have them ready to go for lunches, you controlled that. But when you step on the scale in the morning and look at it, and it's not an ideal number for whatever made-up scenario you have in your mind, and you get frustrated about that, you're doing yourself a disservice in immense proportions, right? You are tearing down your self-worth. You're making yourself feel like you're no good, that it's just showing you what type of value you bring to the world because you're not the number on the scale that you thought you should be. Do you see how a little like crazy that sounds? And I know I talk about this concept a lot, but man, do we need to talk about it more. Because until everyone who listens to this show and all the people that I work with understand that you must put all of your marbles in the basket of controlling what you can control and take all of them out of the other variables in life, you're going to struggle. And the other side is when you do control all that you control and you're honest with yourself, you are so empowered. You feel so good, I promise you. I'm not perfect at this, but on the days and the weeks and the months where I'm doing what I know I should be doing, and I'm not listening to that negative voice in my head, and I'm stepping into my identity as that higher version of myself, I feel like I could walk on water. Because at the end of the day, when I lay my head down to go to sleep, I at least was real and authentic with myself. It doesn't matter what other people think of me. So until you get to that point, it's going to be a bumpy road, right? Now, just realize that your motivation for what you have is tied to only the outcome. And every time you have that fluctuation, like I said, it feels like a failure. But when your focus is on becoming a healthier person, those daily actions that you're taking, the habits, the mindset, the actions, they become wins even before your number on the scale or your body reflects that or makes a change, right? You drinking that water, you prepping the food, you eating the protein, you getting better sleep. They're wins, and they are like votes. It's you voting for that higher version of yourself every single time. And that might come way before the number on the scale changes, or even if it ever does, right? Now, another thing that we want to focus on is to stop treating every single tool that we might have access to as the answer, right? You've got nutrition, you've got exercise, you've got supplements, you've got functional labs, you've got the sleep trackers, the watches, and the rings. Things like saunas, cold plunges, and there's tons of other strategies. That was just to name a few. But realize that none of them individually are the entire answer. They are just tools in your toolbox. I remember when I had the fitness studio, right? You get people that are frustrated and they think, oh, it might be this workout. Or again, to the Pilates example, like maybe someone's doing Pilates and they think, oh, it must be the Pilates. That is the reason that I'm not losing the weight. No, it's not. You cannot point at one of these tools in your toolbox as the reason you either succeeded, and you can't point to it as the reason that you are, quote unquote, not where you want to be, right? Realize that your body's ever changing, and it's an encompassing development of all your tools. One season of your life might require you to focus more on strength training. Another season might require you to really dial in your sleep, or really work on your digestion, or your stress reduction, or just your nutrition, right? Your tools in your toolbox are going to evolve, and they're going to change as your life changes, right? So the goal right now, well, always, is not to find one perfect tool for you, like finally I have the workout program that's going to work, or finally this supplement's going to heal me. The goal is to become someone who learns which tools help them find and feel their very best and consistently do them, right? So if I'm someone who I have access to gym equipment, I know that I have access to healthy, clean foods and clean water and a bedroom that's ideal for sleeping, right? Like I've built all of these tools into my arsenal. I just know how to use them in an all-encompassing way that when I'm struggling in one area, I can kind of lean into that. Like if my sleep's really struggling, I can pull a couple levers, use a couple tools, and get that back on track. I'm not banking on the fact that I got blackout curtains and have the AC low in my room, that it's going to solve all of my problems. And I'm not banking on the fact that I got this great new protein powder that I can mix with my Greek yogurt bowls, that it's going to finally allow me to lose weight. It's just not the case. These are all just tools that you can utilize in different scenarios, and they should all be used to work together. Now, I mention this about every podcast, and I'm going to bring it up again here, that it all comes down to your mindset. And we need to shift from what can I get to who am I becoming, right? It's all about your identity, and it's all about the thoughts that you become aware to. So instead of asking, how much weight can I lose this month? Or how fast can I fix this bloating problem that I have? Or which supplement is going to give me more energy or allow me to sleep better? And you start asking yourself, what would a healthy version of me do today? What actions would I take? What habits would help me feel strong 10 years from now? right? What promises can I realistically keep to myself? We set these big audacious goals. I get that. You should. But man, if you've never bench pressed 5 pounds before, why would your goal be 500 pounds right now? It's got to be to get to 10. And then when you get to 10, it's got to be to get to 15, right? You've got to say, what can I realistically keep as a promise so that I stop going on this hamster wheel and restarting all the time? Or how can I make this a part of my life rather than this temporary program? Like, how can I work in the gym and strength training as something that I just do forever and it's just a part of who I am rather than doing a 1 month fitness program? And look, if that's something that's given you success and it's gotten you to get off your couch and get moving, I don't negate those things, right? I think they're great. But it really comes down to, if every time you go to the gym you think it's for a program or you think it's just to lose weight, you're going to struggle. You're going to be in misery about it. When I go exercise, I do it because I know I'm going to exercise until I kick the bucket. I hope one day I go get a lift in at 90-something years old and go for a walk and do some yoga or something, and then the next day I go to sleep and I don't wake up, right? I plan on exercising and moving my body until the very last day. And that should be something that you think about, right? Utilizing these tools and these habits for the entirety of your life. And then what happens is you become someone where you're no longer someone who is on a diet. You are someone who nourishes their body. You're no longer someone who's trying to complete some workout challenge. And you're someone who trains because strength training improves all areas of your life. You're no longer someone who's searching for this quick fix out there. And you're someone who is committed to understanding and supporting your body. Those are huge mindset shifts when you really boil it down, right? The word committed is not to be toyed with, right? When you are trying something, I'm trying to eat more protein. I'm trying to work out twice a week. That doesn't mean anything to me. But if you're someone who is committed, I am committed to drinking a half a gallon of water every day this week. I believe that person. But if you come to me and you say, I'm trying to drink more water. Like, how does that sound? Right? There's two people. One person says, hey, Sean, I'm trying to drink more water. I'm really trying. The other person says, Sean, I'm committed this week. I'm going to drink 60 ounces of water every single day. Who do I believe? That second person. Because they gave me more detail. They said they were committed rather than I'm just trying. Trying doesn't get you anywhere. Right? And the way I see it is, in order to look at life and exercise and fitness and health and be committed to doing it for the entirety of your life, you have to get addicted to just feeling good, right? At the end of the day, every single thing that we do, from taking vacations to exercising to going to work, it's in order to feel good in some capacity, right? At first, these habits that you're acquiring are going to involve discipline. You're going to have to force yourself a little bit, right? You're not going to get out of bed and never have worked out before and be someone who's super consistent. So it's going to require some discipline. But over time, what will happen if you're focused on the right things, you're going to notice the real reward. And the real reward, that's a tongue twister. The real reward is not the number going down on the scale, although that may be a side effect. The reward is you having more stable energy throughout the day, you sleeping better at night or sleeping at all. I know some people who really struggle with that. The real reward is improved digestion. Maybe you have less cravings for sweets. Maybe you feel stronger and you're capable of picking up your grandkids or just moving furniture around in the house when you want to clean. Maybe you have a better mood and you're not so irritable all the time. Maybe you have more confidence. Or maybe you just feel like you're kind of free in your body. Like, I know for me, like when I wake up in the morning, I know I have an able body to do pretty much anything that I want to do. And I'm very grateful for that. But I work hard for it as well, right? So those are the wins. Those are the things that you get addicted to searching for, right? When I I'm not trying, I'm committed. When I go ahead and eat a clean meal, I'm not doing it to make myself seem cool or to be the boring guy who doesn't want to have the sugary stuff. It's because I know how good I feel after I eat that. It's not about anyone else. I just know that my stomach won't be all a mess. I won't feel sluggish. I'll have energy. That's why I do it. So I get addicted to those things, and I'm constantly in search of the habits and actions and mindset that's going to allow me to feel good because I'm addicted to it. And then over time, you stop doing things like exercising to burn calories, and you exercise because you love feeling like you have an able, capable body, right? You stop eating nourishing food just to lose weight, and you choose it again, like because of how good you'll feel. Like if I got a plate, like got some ground beef, some Brussels sprouts, some rice with some guacamole, like I love that, right? I'm not eating that because I'd love to lose 5 pounds or that has less calories in it than another thing. No, I'm choosing it because I feel amazing afterwards. My digestion feels good, my energy's good, just my mood is better. Like everything about my life will improve by choosing that meal over something that's high in sugar or very fried. It's a no-brainer to me, and I know how it feels, and that's what I'm after. Now, that becomes scary in your favor, right? Because feeling good then becomes your motivation rather than the number on the scale. So you're just constantly on a search, and you're building habits and tools in your life so that you just become, this person who feels good all the time, or you have the tools in your toolbox to turn it around. Like for example, we had a wedding this past weekend, and I was up later than I normally was, eating a slightly different food, like out of your routine. I felt tired, but I know I have the tools and the structure and habits to turn that back around to feeling good again. So I didn't really sweat it that much. And another thing I want us to realize, and we're wrapping up here, I'm not going to ramble on too much about it, but health and the habits and the identity and the goals that you want, it happens over years, not weeks and not months. And I know you've heard this before, but again, a lot of what I always talk about is stuff that we need to be reminded, not some new groundbreaking information, right? Because your body is not just this 30-day streak or project that you went on, right? The real health you're looking for, it's simply built through hundreds of ordinary decisions repeated over a long enough period of time. And what I notice when I observe other people in life is that it's this close. The difference between someone who is healthy and successful versus someone who is not are these micro decisions made just many times throughout the day and over years. And those small things compound either in your favor to lead you to someone who has an ideal scenario, or not in your favor and leads you into someone who is pretty frustrated, right? No one ever became heavy or obese overnight. They kind of blink their eyes and say, oh my God, when did this happen? I mean, it's been 20 years of you making those small decisions in the wrong direction, and then you ended up in that negative position, right? So that's what happens, right? You have to look at your daily actions and know that you are one small decision away from being successful. So it's really not that hard. But if you let yourself go and just not care at all, those little decisions, they add up in the wrong way as well. So just realize, there's going to be vacations, there's holidays, there might be a stressful season in your life. You're going to get injured, you're going to go through hormonal changes, your responsibilities with your family will change, and there's just going to be weeks when your routine is just off, right? But realize also that the healthiest people on this planet are not perfect. They're simply not, right? They have an identity and a foundation that they return to, kind of like I was just saying. I went and had a wedding, and not my wedding, I was at a wedding, and my routine was off, but I just know how to return back to baseline of what feels good for me, right? And the people who are the healthiest, they don't interpret one difficult week or one hiccup in life as proof that they failed. They adjust, they use the tools that they have access to, and they just continue pushing forward, right? I see this too many times as well. You're doing great. You're being consistent. You're working out. You're starting to change your eating habits. And then you get a cold. You're not able to come to the gym for a day or two. And then the week after that, you have a business trip. And then you go on the business trip. And then you're not able to go. And then you allow the time from when you were being consistent through those struggles to be enough to throw you right back into that pattern that you were doing prior to it when you didn't enjoy the outcome that you once had. And the pattern recognition is to snap out of it immediately. Yes, you should allow yourself to heal if you're sick. But if you're being consistent and you're feeling progress and you're doing well, and then you get sick, do not allow those sick days afterwards to be the reason that you just throw your mindset right back into the gutter and go back to, your habits that you were beforehand. Because the whole reason you started on the journey in the first place is because you didn't like the scenario you were in. So if the habits, the mindset, and the actions that you were taking before led you to that undesirable scenario, we got to snap right back out of that, because you will get pulled in like crabs in a bucket so quickly. And it's just really important to notice when you're slipping down that slippery slope. Now, the real key with anything in life, especially in health habits, is that consistency trumps all, right? When you consistently nourish your body, when you move, recover, you're building muscle, you're sleeping consistently, and you manage stress, you're creating a more supportive internal environment, right? Over time of doing those things consistently, you become better fueled, you become stronger and more resilient, you become more capable of recovering, you become more metabolically supported. So when you eat food, your body distributes it as proper energy, and you depend less on those extreme approaches like doing a cleanse or some type of crazy fat burner supplement, right? Like you're not dependent on those extreme things. And this, frankly, is often when outcomes and things like fat loss, muscle gain, better digestion, improved energy, lowered bloating begin to happen, right? Not because you forced your body through this quick fix, but because those daily actions and your lifestyle and your mindset finally support the actual result that you want. So all of that stuff earlier in this episode to say, if you become addicted to feeling good and you focus on what you can control and you do that long enough, the byproduct just might be that you lose weight. Now, isn't that a powerful thing, right? Instead of focusing on the scale and wishing for it this week, you just got addicted on the other things. And hey, months and years later, you look back and you're like, oh my God, I lost all this weight and gained all that muscle. And it doesn't take that long, especially if you commit to the right mindset. Now, just a little practical exercise before we wrap up here. And you can do this on your phone or on a piece of paper or just think it out. But I really want you to pay attention to this, right? I want you to write down the following thing, the following phrase. The person I am becoming is someone who blank. It could be any number of things. It could be the person I am becoming is someone who strength trains 3 times per week. It's someone who prioritizes protein and nourishing meals. Maybe it's someone who goes for walks because movement clears my mind, right? Maybe it's someone who protects her sleep without missing out on life. There's a number of things that you could put down. When you're done with that, then what is one action that I can take today that casts a vote for this identity? If I say I'm someone who walks daily because it helps me clear my mind, well, an action step that I could do is I could say, you know what? After lunch today, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. I'll set a timer. I'll block off my calendar so that no one tries to call me or set meetings. And I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. That is something that is small, it's repeatable, it's got low barrier to entry, and I know for a fact that I can do it, and I'm going to commit to that. And what happens when you do those things is you're building confidence within yourself. You're saying, oh man, I did that, right? Like I told myself my identity is someone who moves, who walks. I set the goal, I hit it. Can I do it again tomorrow? Of course I can, because I just did it today. And then you do that over time, and those things start to compound. It builds your confidence, and it allows you to increase the level of severity of the goal. You went from walking for 10 minutes after lunch to walking for 20 minutes, and that evolves, right? Maybe you go for a walk in the morning and then in the afternoon, right? Those things can evolve in any way, shape, or form in your favor. And just to wrap this up, right? As a reminder, and I say this all the time, but your body is not broken, it's not betraying you. And you do not need to spend the rest of your life fighting it. You're not in a battle against your body to lose weight. Your body just might need different support now than it did when you were 25 or 35, and that's okay, right? That doesn't mean you're broken. It just probably means that the tools that you have access to, they need to evolve, right? Instead of doing sprints and high-intensity 50-minute, hour-long classes, maybe you do need to do a little more yoga and strength training. Your tools just need to evolve. And this season that you're in can be the moment that you stop jumping from this plan to that plan and that supplement to this supplement and just build a way of living that supports your energy, your strength, your confidence, and your overall health for literally eternity until you pass, right? Because the ultimate goal is not just to lose weight, to reduce bloating, or to complete some program. The goal of what you're after is to become someone who values her health, who understands her body, who consistently uses the tools that you have available to support it, right? So you might begin and start your journey because you want to lose weight, and that's totally fine. But the real transformation happens when your actions, your standards, and your identity flip the switch and actually change. And that's how you stop being someone who's always just trying to get healthy and become someone who lives a healthy life. And that's it. So I thank you guys for listening. I hope that you can take some action from this. If you learned something and this was valuable to you, I just ask that you share it with a friend or share it on social media. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day and a great week. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me on today's episode. I hope you got a ton of value from it. If we're not connected on Instagram yet, let's change that. Hit me up at Sean Calhoun _. That's SEAN Calhoun _. Shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think of the show, or if you got any questions about how to level up your health. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.